What's up, y'all? Raven the Swift. How's it going? So normally I do a tournament review segment, and today we're actually going to do a 1v1 segment. So instead of reviewing some type of tournament fighting, we're actually going to look at a sparring session between two fighters. And the thing I actually want to look at here is not actually the performance of how either of these fighters do. I'm aware this video is a little bit old. It's about 8 months. And I asked Ignatious if I could use it, and he said yeah. So I don't really care about the outcomes about this fight, but the important thing I want to look at is actually the lesson that we can take from it. And really, this is something we should be considering in all of our fighting and our training and development and stuff like that is what are the lessons that we can learn from our experiences. So there's a very important one here, and I would just like to look over it and make it aware to you guys, and hopefully you guys get something from this. So anyway, just like our tournament review segment, I'm not going to talk about if people are taking hits or not. I'm not going to talk about who wins or not, who doesn't, because I don't actually care. And yeah, and so anyways, let's go. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing it. Turn the audio down a little bit. So it's going to take a while to start progressing what we see here. Really, the thing that we're looking for is adaptation and how the fight starts to evolve based on their relationship with each other. So Ignatius gets a nice money shot cross shot here. They have a nice exchange going on. Lots of throwing at the same time and lots of countering. Both these guys are kind of reactive fighters, or counter punchers as they're often called. So what we're going to see here is that Bell is going to start developing his defense against Ignatius. See, he gets a nice clean kill there. And Bell is going to start seeing exactly what Ignatius is doing and has made the first adaptation in the series. And this commonly happens between two high-end fighters, is where they start who can adapt the most and who can start getting deeper and deeper and deeper into these adaptations. So Bell's made the first adaptation to Ignatius, and now it's up to Ignatius to see how he's going to try to adapt. And what we're starting to see here is that Ignatius is he's moving himself out of his own position, and I call it just abandoning position, right? Abandoning stance to try to force some of these engagements and overextend in a lot of ways. You're overextending out of your stance. You're making more and more and more dramatic movements to try to get these things to work, because you can't get around your opponent's defense, or you're just trying to beat them super hard. And usually when this starts to happen, this is the exact opposite thing that you want to do, and you need to look for a better strategy other than just throw more at the wall and see what sticks. Because even in tournaments, if you're doing Ironmans or whatever, or just having a long series like this, the more and more and more that you start to come out of your stance and come out of your position, the longer your attacks are going to be, the more effort and the more energy that you're expending to try to fight an opponent who has only made one adaptation. There is a strategy adaptation that needs to happen here, not a physical one. You know what I mean? And then the thing I would probably say that Ignatius should start doing is actually start simplifying the fight a little bit more. He should go back to his original stance, go back to being more conservative in his movement. That was a nice setup. And what I would do is just slow the fight down a little bit, but put in more inputs towards his opponent. And what an input is like I'm feinting an attack, or I'm stuttering, or I'm manipulating their equipment in some way. See, Bell, I'm going to go back real quick. So Bell's going to start getting him to move. He's stuttering towards him. Throw some bullshit at him. Got Ignatius to overextend, and then just threw a counter. Bell's extremely good at counter punching. And what you should do to a counter puncher is either bait out their attack, or fight in a place that they're not particularly comfortable with, I would keep the exchanges relatively short as well. Um, the reason being that if Bell's not losing position, is keeping a stance, and you start losing your stance and your position against a counterpuncher, the counterpuncher is going to get so much better at the thing that they're actually want to do. Nice. Yeah, if I was Ignatius here, I'd start moving more laterally before I actually throw anything at Bell. Maybe be more indirect with him without exposing himself. There's lots of different ways and strategies to implement to actually beat people. There's not one particular strategy that's the best. The one that's the best is the one that works. Little pump fake there and a stab. See, if he pump fakes towards him, and Ignatius should have moved laterally or back. Maybe move laterally and pump fake towards him. Try to get Bell to move. Nice dark side. See, it's another example of Ignatius came in on a straight line. Yeah, he moves straight in, does a little fake, throws board side, and gets hit by a small dark side there. In those situations where you're fighting a counterpuncher, you have to either elongate the exchange where it's like, I'm going to have a super complicated, entry that's safe though. I want to give them a lot of stimulus to where I can maybe one-shot them. Or perhaps start the exchange, with an attack that leaves your swords crossed or leaves them with fewer options after you attack them. If you throw something to where you're not manipulating where you're not crossing swords or something, you're equally as open as they were when they go to attack you back. This board side wrap. Nice step. See? Let me go back real quick. I like that he elongates the exchange on this last one. Kind of does a stutter and a feint and then throws this kind of wonky stab. It's perfect. That's exactly what you should be doing. Let me go back. I'm going to go back to watching this because there's more stuff here. Seeing that exchange was pretty long. He actually started the exchange with that cross shot we were talking about, which left Bell with less options on his riposte. And he didn't win there. Ignatius didn't win, but he also didn't lose. And then he opened that one with a backhanded shoulder wrap, which left him vulnerable as soon as his attack was ended, or he came back to guard. See? He attacked the opponent's board side shoulder, which left him open. I like that. I like that pump fake. And he got hit in the leg. That's okay. Let's see why that didn't work. He went into the spin too early. Let's go back. And that time he was just that was the right thing to do, except he threw an attack before his opponent reacted to anything, which I suppose you can do, but against a counterpuncher a counterpuncher will typically be pretty defensive and just waits for you to throw anything, in which case they're going to throw some counters. If you've thrown a safe shot but didn't move your opponent's guard, and then you dedicate yourself to a big attack right afterwards, there's a good chance that a counterpuncher will just try to throw a direct counter at you. So in that case, he needed to throw some type of feint before he actually dedicated that position. Maybe throwing that cross and then done something else before he actually threw the board side shoulder. Against these counter punches, you have to make them react. You have to make them, move their equipment around before they can do something. If you don't, it's bad news bears. So yeah. That's that backhanded shoulder wrap we talked about. See, he did the exact same thing I just described. He starts the exchange with this flat cross, which I love. That's such a safe way of starting the exchange. But they're still not relatively close. And when he lands, his guard is open here. You can see that his sword is tilted to the outside of his body, which leaves a high cross or a slot shot open. Bell's shield didn't even move from the high cross, but his hand came high. So now Ignatius can do a couple different things. Like he's got these other shield quadrants open. You know, shield side shoulder, shield side hip, and that sword side hip. Those are possibilities there, but Bell is still within his stance and was not compromised at all. And now Ignatius is in a low stance with his guard open. He's used more resources to get to attack Bell than Bell used to defend. And then the result of that is that he ends up getting high crossed because his guard was open when he threw this backhanded rab, which I think, like, this could have worked. I think if Ignatius maybe could have set up with shield side wrap or something like that, like Bell's shield moved down, which is good, and then he kind of that means Ignatius's feint worked, but his guard was susceptible to this high cross. I think if I was Ignatius here, I would have thrown the flat cross, pump fake down, done something to bait Bell into throwing this high cross, then just caught the high cross normally with, you know, a standard block, and then thrown in the shot afterwards. You know, pull that counter puncher's attack out of them, and if you pull that attack out of them, then you can counter against them. But anyway, I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna stop the video here. So anyway, the lesson here, if you guys have been just listening to me ramble, kind of, is that the solution to when you're trying to adapt to your opponent's defense is not to just do more, is not to just move more. You need to move more intelligently, or at least just move intelligently. It's not expending more resources to get past your opponent's defense. It's actually just knowing how to spend them and knowing your timing and positioning and all this other stuff. And if you are finding yourself, your solution is to try to expend more resources against an opponent who's not, there's probably a better strategy to use there. Anyway, guys, I'm Raven the Swift, and this has been my review series. Check you later. Bye.